Hello, 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 my beauties. So, hang on one second. I think I am live. Give me a yes if everything's pretty good. It doesn't have to be perfect if it's pretty good. Um, I think I'm not going to get up and adjust any lights, but hang on one second here. Move you guys over. I know there's a little bit of a shadow, but I think it's okay. Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys? This is a Saturday live. I'm filming this on Saturday. I usually do not go live on Saturdays. So I don't know how many folks will be, it's Saturday afternoon. A lot of folks are shopping. That's what I usually, you have errands on Saturday. But I'm really glad to be here. So I won't be doing live tomorrow, Sunday. And that is because I'm I'm leading the first of the at-home mini retreats via Zoom. And so I thought, well, I'll just go live today and have a great topic to actually share with you. So get some water. I've got some lemon water here. I have to drink a lot of water, and I really recommend, goddesses, really watching your water intake, especially if you get older. If you do not drink enough water, it can really, really. I didn't take it seriously because I wouldn't be very thirsty, even though I would do yoga and African dance, as just not professionally, just to try to lose some COVID weight. But obviously, the yoga I do as a yoga teacher, and it caused some problems for me because I was not drinking enough water. So you do need to flush your kidneys out, or you can form stones, which can be very, very painful. So take the water seriously. It may not be 8 glasses, it may be 7 or 6 for you, but do take it seriously. So I'm going to say hi, see who's in the chat. Hi, Vintage Sims, and True to Self. Hello. So glad you're around. So the topic today that I'm going to dive into, so those on the replay, because if they come on the replay and they're not live, they're like, oh, okay, what are you going to talk about? Get to the point. They don't really like too much greeting stuff. So be patient if you're in the replay. So we're going to talk about what the divine feminine is from my perspective, and I'll share with you, again, because you may not have seen a video I made 2 years ago where I talked about the divine feminine, right? So let me know in the chat how you're doing. And that is a divine feminine aspect. Share with me how you're doing before I launch into what I want to share with you. How are you doing? Post election, there's just so much going on energetically right now, right? Eclipse season for the astrologers and the astrology fascinated in the house. So I've got lemon water, and I also have some tea as well. So how are you doing? Share in the chat. Even just give me a few words. Welcome if you're just joining. Hey, 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 hey. I see the numbers going up there. Yes, I usually am live on Sundays, but I won't be live this Sunday because I'll be teaching the mini retreat. And I put a link in there for that. It's the at-home mini retreats. The first one is tomorrow. There will be 2 more. So let me jump in. I'll be sharing as I wait for your comments. And comments, guys, are a little bit slower because you can see I'm using StreamYard. Actually, it doesn't show the little duck. There's a little duck logo that's usually in this corner. And so it's a different software, you guys. So I can, put things on screen. Like I could put your comments on screen. So I use StreamYard. And so, yeah, I see some comments coming in. Okay, good, good. Yeah, I'll put them up here. Let's see. Hi, Amara Star. Feeling energetic and inspired. Awesome. Awesome. Share a little bit more about that. Did you do something? Like what caused you to feel that way? Says, I'm well. Yeah. Good, good. I'm good. I really am really doing very, very well today. Maristar says, hi. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about, I wrote down 5 different qualities because it's hard to talk about the divine feminine. So let me jump in, and then I really do want to take your questions. I'm also this is a complete aside, but you guys know I have a lot of asides. because I'm mirrored, it looks different to me than when I like looked before to check everything, like the setup, because everything is like reversed. So it's just strange for me. I see myself as I'm talking to you, which is why I love to get your comments. So I know I'm not just sitting in my room, in my space, talking to myself. And behind me, I want to share with you a painting that I just did. And I really love it. And actually, now I'm looking at my head wrap. Okay, I think there are some similarities. It's so funny. So I usually don't do abstract work, but I won't go on that topic. But yeah, this is a painting I just recently did. So what is the divine feminine? I feel moved to clarify this for several reasons. I see a lot of people taking the phrase divine feminine and using it almost like you'd say Coca-Cola, like, oh, just in ways that are really cheapening the concept, and of course, it's beyond the concept. So at root, the divine feminine, as I understand it, and the sort of the most sort of grand way of looking at it has to do with the divinity and the worship and the connection and the communion of humanity with a higher power or beingness or energy that is thought of as feminine. So, in all cultures around the world, in all ancient cultures around our globe, if there was a masculine deity, there was always a feminine, or in fact, in early civilizations, the main understanding of the divine was in a feminine form. Okay, so that's at root the idea or the concept of the divine feminine. So it has to literally do with spirituality, with, you could even say, religion, at least originally, right? Like if we're talking, ancient cultures, right? Now we would probably just say spirituality. So the feminine was given prime importance, is what I'm saying. The highest divinity was regarded as feminine in nature. And as I said, if there was a male god, there was always paired with the female. Okay. And so, oh, thank you, true to self. So why is that important now? Why is that important? Most of us, many people are. I'm not. I am absolutely not an atheist. I always say to people, and let me know what you think about this. Of course, everybody can be whatever they want, but I always say to people, I could never relate to or have a intimate relationship with someone who's an atheist, because here's why. That means you can actually say you believe that you absolutely know that there is no higher power, divinity, creator, consciousness. And I find that extremely arrogant. So you guys, let me know what you think about that. Think about that. So I've just never really related to anyone who's absolutely adamant atheist, because I'm like, whatever your actual religious belief, I can vibe with you more. And even if you're not religious, like I have a dear friend, and again, give me a yes or, share your comment. I have a dear friend who is not religious, but is a deeply spiritual person, a humanist, caring, kind, would sacrifice herself to save another being, right? So, in the truest sense of the word, divine, an evolved person. But she would not claim to be an atheist, because, again, an atheist, as I understand it, is saying there's absolutely no, it's sort of a mechanical universe. There is no higher powers or unseen beings, I know that for a fact. So I don't relate to atheism. Even to say agnostic, that doesn't bother me at all, or it seems to me that's not an arrogant statement. But an atheist says that I know this for a fact, and it just seems impossible to know. So let's get back to the divine feminine. What are some qualities? So having said that, what are some qualities of the divine feminine? Because I see also on YouTube, it's being presented as, oh, but this sort of ultra femme, like long fingernails and just, sexy, sexy, sexy. And again, that's limiting what the divine feminine is. That is limiting what the divine feminine is. Okay. Let me know if you're following me. Give me a comment here. I'm going to pause again. Ah, hi. Hey, Majola. Greetings. This is so perfect on this day. I'm fasting. Oh, there you go. I mean, I literally might be doing this for you because um, my intuition is like, oh, that's what you need to do. I wasn't going to go live today. It was like Saturday. I'm preparing for tomorrow for teaching, but something told me to come on. So, yeah, that's really interesting. You're fasting. That's beautiful. Nice. Hi, Donna. So again, the divine feminine isn't about it, and it isn't about how you look. And I'm speaking here especially to women. It isn't like a mature woman, an old woman, even, and the word old in our culture is very bad, can still embody the divine feminine. So I don't want you to think it's just about this sort of ultra frilly, pink, and it's not. That's limiting. That's actually limiting what the divine feminine is. Think of the divine feminine as almost like the force of nature. In the West, we still have the idea of mother nature, right? It's sort of like mother nature, but also cosmic, cosmic nature. Okay, divine feminine. So don't limit it. And I see people doing that and just saying, like, almost, I don't want to slam anybody because then it might lead back to anybody directly, but they'll be putting something together that's really kind of small in scope and saying divine feminine. Okay, so it isn't about whether you had your nails done. It isn't about if your hair is a certain way, or what your figure is like. That's not the divine feminine. So let's go what the divine feminine is. And sort of, again, we're trying to encompass something that's so big. Okay, and share in the chat your ideas. I would love to see them, and I'll read them and put some up. But let me go through this because, again, folks watching in the replay, not on the live, they tend to get more impatient. So intuition is, again, an expression of the divine feminine. Intuition. And I am going to contrast this, and it may sound like stereotypes, but again, we still have to talk, we still have to kind of make summations of things. Okay, so not everybody fits, obviously, right? I'm not saying everybody is this or everybody is that. I mean, that would be stupid. But intuition is an aspect of the divine feminine. But think about it. Intuition, until maybe 20, 30 years ago, is not valued in our culture, and it still is not valued in our culture. Okay, do you follow me? Intuition, meaning I don't actually have proof of this, but it's an inner feeling, it's an inner knowing. Uh, I just know, I know, right? Maybe thinking clairvoyance, empath, being an empath, though that quality of just knowing, that is a quality of the divine feminine. And again, as opposed to the masculine, that, and again, here I'm talking about, has become imbalanced. What do I mean by that? Picture where the masculine has pushed out the feminine. That's what I mean by imbalance. Not that the masculine in itself is bad, but it is too dominant. And so it's almost like if there's a little space and one person's just pushing the other out. Because what is valued in our culture? Give me, what's the opposite of intuition? Those of you who are here, what would you call the opposite of intuition? Hi, Sensei. The opposite of intuition, I'll give you a moment to put that in. What would be the opposite of intuition that is more valued? And when I say our culture, I'm saying Western, industrialized culture. All right. I'm gonna share, but still put in the chat. The opposite of intuition would be like not intellect, but you would say somebody's intuitive versus somebody's intellectual, or there's another word. I'm quite kind of missing the word, but yeah, book knowledge. Yeah. Control thinking, logic, actually logic, Sensei. Logic is the word. Think of a Dr. Spock. Okay, just to draw the picture, think of like Dr. Spock, right? We all, there's something missing. So that would be an extreme, sort of the opposite of divine feminine. So instead of intuition, that logic that is very cold and it's like a calculator. Okay. All right. So again, not saying logic is bad, but when it becomes the all, when it becomes, I'll give you an example. Again, Western medicine is wonderful for many, many things, but in Western medicine, intuition is not prized. So a doctor, what I'm noticing lately through also conversations with many people, and give me a yes if you feel what I'm saying, it's about, well, let me run this test. A doctor no more will give you sort of what they're able to discern, touching you, not testing, but touching, seeing, listening to you. Instead, they'll say, I'm going to do a test. And only when tests come back will they say, do you see how that's sort of like, this is only logic. I cannot speak. I can't say anything from a more intuition, but also kind of my decades of experience combined with my intuition. Oh, I think it's this. No, they're going to run tests, and only when the tests come back. Okay. And I'm just saying that has gotten us to a place where clearly the world is imbalanced now. Okay. So intuition is the first divine feminine quality, trying to develop and begin to trust intuition, train your intuition. Okay. Now, again, just for those flaky people out there, if your intuition says, drive the car off of what looks like a cliff, that's not intuition. Okay. I have to say that, right? Because I just think of like the Haley Bop people who thought, there was a comet coming. And so they like drank Kool-Aid or something. They drank something and laid down to wait for the comet. Okay. Intuition and divine feminine intuition is always leading you to greater joy, peace, health, compassion. Okay, let's move on. Oh, compassion is the next thing. The next quality of the divine feminine. Again, compassion, again, versus a kind of still more logic, but more like, well, you take care of yourself. And, I don't really understand your suffering. I don't understand your pain. That's the opposite of compassion. Compassion is about, I may not be suffering. I may not have this illness. I may not have lost my grandpa like you just did, but my heart understands you. Okay? My heart understands you. That's compassion. Compassion is when if you saw a child in person, not even just because we're shown like hungry children so much, that sparks your compassion. But if you see a child like on the ground crying, you don't see any adults. Compassion is, oh my gosh, oh, okay, let me help this child. This child obviously is human, is alive, needs my help. That's compassion. That is a quality, again, of the divine feminine. Empathy, yes, very similar. In fact, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. They're so close, honestly. It's like really almost synonymous. Yes, empathy, understanding. You're a human, I'm a human. And of course, many of us, the compassion, I have to drop this in there, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but compassion, and I'm not saying everybody should be vegan or anything, but many people can feel compassion for animals. Oh my gosh, there's a dog and you just saw the dog get hit by a car. Who's not like moved by that? You're like, oh my gosh, maybe can I save this animal? Can I move the animal to the sidewalk? Right? It's not my dog. I don't know this dog, but you see a being that is hurt. Okay. So this is deep stuff. What is happening now is this is coming more to the fore of our society. And that's why I'm talking about the divine feminine for those of you just joining. So intuition, compassion, as I just gave examples, connection. Again, you can see I've already touched on that. It's an animal. It's not my dog, right? It's not like I've owned this dog and I've chipped this dog. I see this dog. It's been hit by a car. It's still alive. I feel a sense of connection, as opposed to, your group, your people. I don't know about those people. You look different than me and your language is different. And what are you doing? And what are you wearing? And why are you, who do you worship? What are you doing? That connection sees beyond the superficial. Okay. Connection sees beyond the superficial. That's, yes, the divine feminine. I'm going to put up some of your great comments on the screen. That's why I love StreamYard, because I can do that. I can't do that just straight on YouTube. So yes, give me your comments about this. But before I go on, so let me say why this is important. Years ago, guys, and I wouldn't lie to you, I'm trying to think, like 15 years ago. I would tell you the wrong dates though, because about 15 years ago, I started hearing the phrase divine feminine in my head. Divine feminine is rising. And I'm like, okay, what is that? I don't understand what that means. And I superficially got it as basically that actual women would rise in power in society. Okay. And within a few years, it started to really become obvious. I was like, whoa, it's happening, like, and I got it, like I'll get like a whisper, like this is what's going to happen. Just even in terms of political power and government and ability in the world. Now, interestingly, and I want to talk about it, anytime there's a push forward, whether it's civil rights or women's rights, there's a pushback, right? It's like, think of it, you guys, it's getting deep. Like, it's like a wave, right? There's a high point, but then there's a low point created as well. So I think now, even I hadn't planned to say this, but I'm seeing now that yes, there's a pushback from when I first was hearing and I started to see online again, and this seeing it online happened maybe 2 years later, 3 years later. So it wasn't like I was seeing it online. I was like, oh, I'm getting this. No, this was like divine feminine, divine feminine. I'm like, what is that? So it's the sacred, it's sensual. So let's go on. It's rising, but there's also a backlash because right now it's not the norm. Okay. So forces push back. Creativity. So I just want to share with you two more qualities of the divine feminine. Creativity. In most cultures, right? There's even the idea of the muse goddesses and some guys who are watching. The muse is almost always seen across the planet as a feminine force. This idea of a muse is that it's almost like when an artist or a creative person is inspired. And of course, typically it was considered a male because in some parts, especially of the Western world, the creativity was limited. Males were only allowed to do the creative aspect, right? But what would inspire them would be almost like a female figure, like in their mind, the muse would come to them. Okay. Some of you know what I'm talking about. So the creative aspect, and it comes from connecting women with birth. It's this sense that it creates, right? And then it puts it out. So creativity. Okay. And we'll talk about non-binary and sort of modernize it a little bit at the end. Okay. Really? My golden just barged in. Well, because yeah, I'm here talking about compassion and dogs being hit by cars, and your dog's like, whoa, got like a little brain freeze, like what is happening in there? The last quality, and there's one more, but the last quality, feelings. Again, as opposed to logical, as opposed to analytical. That's the word I was looking for, analytical. Again, analytical is important. You need to be able to kind of, okay, very clearly go through, right? It's like math. You need some of that, but feelings as opposed to, how does this make you, what are the sensations, emotions that arise in you? Those are feelings, those are important, and giving them importance. So those qualities that I just mentioned the 5 qualities. Can you see how our society, and again, I'm talking like go back like 20 years and further back in history, how these things are not valued. Being compassionate would be considered weakness. Okay. Being intuitive used to be almost considered crazy. If you, in certain settings, if you knew something that you couldn't sort of logically explain, you would be considered what? It starts with a W. You would be considered a witch or some sort of, simply because you knew something and you couldn't explain how you got from A, to D or A to F. Okay, so there would be punishment for that. Okay, I'm looking at connection. The opposite, we're taught in America, and this is the truth, we are taught this. You take care of yourself. There's an individualistic strain in American culture. Okay, again, I'm talking historically, and it's part of our ethos is you sort of take care of yourself. It's kind of like the old West, this idea of the cowboy. Individualism, that our personal right is really important, as opposed to other cultures where they don't have that. They don't have the sense that you're more important than like the family, or you're the most important person. It doesn't matter what, 9 people want this and 1 wants that. And so we're going to go with what the 1 wants, right? So connection versus disconnection. Creativity also, right? We always think of creatives, they're a little weird. Oh, right. Didn't Van Gogh cut off his ear? They're just strange. Too much creativity. It's almost creativity was literally hemmed in. Even going back couple hundred years or whatever, in various cultures, it would be controlled by like the church, for example, or the priests would control the creativity. What you could paint, draw, or depict, okay, you feel me, was controlled by the ruling class, okay? So creativity was controlled, okay? And finally, again, like I said, feelings. What do we say to kids, like especially a boy, especially in the past? Oh my God, stop it. You know, why are you crying? Stop it, you're being a baby, right? So feelings were denigrated as opposed to being more analytical. And so the divine feminine, what that is a spiritual energy that is on the rise on our planet, goddesses, to correct. It is not in any way, and again, some people are simplistic, it's not in any way to demolish or eradicate the masculine. Now, there may be individual people who who want to do that, right? But the energy I'm talking about, the spiritual timeline, the theme is to bring us to balance, okay? Is to bring us back more a little to center, because we've swung really far this way. So for example, war is not a feminine manifestation. A divine feminine manifestation of a disagreement would be speaking, would be discussion, would be coming together, not moderate, not that's not the word I'm looking, almost like mediation, right? So do you understand how we're, while you guys, when it dawned on me that almost every big movie I saw, the winner was determined by who just annihilated the other person with typically tank. Now, they wouldn't be like regular little military tanks, right? Which, by the way, are huge. They would be like, sci-fi, so they'd be high powered. But once you really see it, you're like, oh, they beat the bad guys just by destruction. We're rarely shown discussion, compromise, working together. This is really deep. We're never shown people actually cooperating in a movie. Would that make a bad movie? I don't know. I'm not a Hollywood director. Yes, I mean, battle's good, evil. I mean, if something's evil, yes, but you know what I mean? We rarely are shown, things are shown like, yeah, black and white, and then they're miles apart. Think about what that does to our thinking. Think about what that does to our mind when our society is like that. Okay? Yes. So that I want to kind of wind it up with and take any questions with the concept. So what does that mean for you as a person in daily life? It means bringing intuition, compassion, connection, creativity, and your feelings into balance in your life. So look at those. Okay. I'm going to repeat them one more time if you want to write them down. Intuition, starting to trust your intuition. Again, developing your intuition. Compassion, instead of necessarily judging someone, compassion. Now the compassion, I have to say this, you may still say, you know what? Because I recently did this to a dear friend. I had to take some space from this person who was deeply depressed, is deeply depressed. Give me a yes if I'm sure some of you are having this. Deeply depressed person. And our conversations were constantly, and when I say constantly, I mean for months and years, it would be complaints about personal things, like I won't mention here, but constant. Any solutions would be no, because the person was really in this victim stance. And I do have a problem with that. So you can have compassion for them, but you can also say, you know what? I've given all I can. Give me a yes. True to self says yes. There's a point at which you're draining yourself to nourish. It's like they've stuck a little electric plug in you and they're feeding off of you. Okay. Give me a yes. I know this has happened to some of you. I know this has happened to you if you're a caring person. So you have to be careful with compassion. There is compassion fatigue where you're like, I've given, I've listened, I've tried to help. Like, it's almost like, this is a great analogy. I just got it. Somebody's drowning. Like, this would be the real life. Somebody's drowning. You throw them the life preserver and you can pull them in and they won't grab it. I'm sorry. I know people like that. You throw it over and you're like, grab it. And you want to pull them, you want to help, right? And they don't grab it. They see it, and for whatever reason, they will not grab literally put it over them, put their arms through, and just save themselves. You know what I'm talking about. An extreme example would be someone with addiction, for example. If they're addicted, then I'm not giving them an excuse, but I'm saying often people who have an addiction, you may try to save them. You want to pull them in, you want to take them out of the water, and they won't. Okay, so compassion doesn't mean that you're endlessly nourishing someone who's draining you. It does not mean that. The other quality, again, connection, creativity, feelings. And so goddesses, you want to be embodied. This is how I'm going to wind it up, is because I was like, where does it, because I was going to put embody the divine feminine, embody the divine feminine. Embodied is something that's missing, and I'm speaking to for myself in Western women. We are not in our bodies. We are not feeling and aware and feeling and aware of our bodies. We're like living from here. We're living from our head up. Okay. Many of us are like, we're in our brain. We're in our brain. Oh my God. Why do you say that? What's going to happen? Oh no, I got to plan it. I got to. It's a disembodied existence. It's like it's this gigantic head walking around. I don't mean you. I mean you, like all of us. Okay. Yes. I mean you, like all of us. So especially for women, for this intuition that I'm talking about, and for these other traits, you need to be embodied. And so here, yes, I am going to tell you about my meditation tomorrow, because meditation is a prime way. You guys know I love to lead body scans. It's a type of meditation. It's a body scan where I literally lead you through each part of your body, and you feel and you start to feel like you feel your cells. It can be really amazing, a body scan. Who does a body scan meditation? It is probably the easiest type of mindfulness to do. It is the easiest type of mindfulness meditation. When you're anxious, you literally go through your body piece by piece, and you just try to feel each part of your body, okay? And that is called a body scan. Sorry, my nose is itching. Or mindfulness of the body. And so tomorrow, here, and then I want to take your questions. Hold on, let me just find, I'm going to share it. This one is for women only, but I think the next one I'm going to put that it's open to everyone. But this is tomorrow. It's from 1, I had to count on my fingers, 1 to 4:15 Eastern. Okay, the link, I just put it in the chat. And so I will be leading a series of different types of meditation. So it's a retreat. It's a mini retreat, because you're going to be in your own space. You can have your altar. Like, I'm looking at my altar there. I lit my candle before coming live with you. And you can have in your own space, and I will just lead you through different meditation practices. We're going to do mindful eating. I know one I had wanted to start a little earlier, but I needed to change it because my meditation series, which is running, I think I have 7 women in that, and they're learning how to meditate. So this is like a retreat where you just practice meditation. Okay. So I'd love for some of you. Yeah. Oh, Vintage says you love body scan. Yes. I'd love for you to sign up. This is absolutely, absolutely worth it. In fact, I added a money back guarantee. I'll talk more about that. But so I'll be leading like mindful eating. We'll do walking meditation. So you're not going to sit for 3 hours. You will not sit for 3 hours, I promise. And then we'll have some journaling in there too. So we'll do about 3 different types of meditation broken up. So you're not just sitting, and you're going to go really, really deep, get really centered. You're going to sleep well tomorrow night if you attend. And the money back guarantee is that by Monday evening, if you don't see the value of it, Monday evening of what you did, I will give you your money back 100%. Okay. So I just added that because I know some of you might feel like, oh, I don't know. The cost, if you're a member of the channel or a patron, which would be worth joining because that's like $3.99, and then it's only $50. To do that, actually, gosh, you'd have to be on my list. Hold on. You could email me if you become a member. Actually, if you become a member, like right now, the post you'll see will tell you how to get the discount. So yeah, I forgot. I forgot, people. I already set it up. So anyway, do join me tomorrow. I would love to see you. So, do you have any questions about how to embody the divine feminine more? And I'm going to put maybe a question or a comment. Yes, movement and dancing is excellent. Yes, it absolutely is. Because if you look at a lot of Westerners, I can actually look at somebody and tell if they're unhealthy. And again, a lot of us are dealing with pelvic issues, reproductive issues. No shame, no blame. You're healing, right? But think about it. We sit in a chair. Our ancestors did not sit all day like this, right? They didn't sit and move and just move their fingers. Who in what culture did tell me a culture? Tell me a culture. Yes. Good afternoon, Queens from MZ Colston. Tell me a culture where you know this is what they did all day. And then they'd get a cup and they'd stare at their screen. And then they'd put the cup down and then they do this again. No culture, no culture. No peoples on the planet did this. So especially our midsection, yes, we don't we don't twist, right? We don't bend. We don't not, unless you do a physical job. If you're a UPS driver, more power to you. I actually met a UPS driver who worked all through COVID, fit as can be, slim, right? Those UPS, that's a lot of work. If you have physical work, then I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people who work at a desk most of the time. Yes, Ameristar. Yes, Ameristar, are you attending? Because when you do, sorry guys, I have to literally stop and think. When you do, I see your email and I send you the Zoom link. Yeah, I don't post the Zoom link publicly. So after you enroll, after you enroll, you get the Zoom link. I'll either see your email or I may have it auto set up. So Ameristar, you can always email me. And any of you can email and it'll come to me. I'll see it. Assistant at in the flow. My gosh, in the flow of magic.com. So again, tomorrow I'm limiting it to women, the divine feminine in a female body. And then the middle one, I'm going to say guys can come too. Let's talk about that briefly. I disagree with, let me just tell you, because I want, you can read it. It's called Tiny Rituals. It's a website. I read this article and I'm sorry. This is very difficult to say I'm not trying to offend anyone, but they wrote this article and they're kind of, we're using language in a wishy-washy way right now. This is really my opinion and my thought. I put intellectual thought into this. So yes, the divine feminine completely exists in men and women and anybody who is non-binary. It has to, as does what we would call the divine masculine. And they do compare it in this Tiny Rituals article to, yes, yin and yang. These exist. Now, what we all know is that, yes, one male may have more like masculine traits and one may have more feminine traits. It doesn't mean that these polarities do not exist. And I think right now in our culture, we're having trouble with it's with definitions and in terms of this exists. And yes, it can blend. I'm not saying it's like the 50s or most cultures where a girl had to be exactly like this. She could not do this. A girl is defined this way. There are many cultures where it's very, very limited. This is a girl. This is a boy. We know that in our culture, a girl or a boy, again, using those terms, still can express themselves in different ways. Like I wear pants most of the time. 100 years ago, that would have not been the case. Black, white, or whatever, you would have, if you were female, you were not wearing pants. Do you feel what I'm saying? Because it's like, no, nope, you wear a dress. Your body has to be covered in this way if you are female. So what I'm saying is I don't agree that the actual genders exist, but what is, and has always happened to some degree in some cultures and sometimes, is there is fluidity and you can express yourself. But a female typically, and this is where I was getting to, a female typically embodies more of the divine feminine. That's what my problem was with this tiny rituals article. Was like, yeah, it's just a matter of like, oh, it's like, no. uh, when you are when you take birth in a female body, typically there's more, for most women there's going to be more of the divine feminine expressing, obviously not all. And similarly, if you take birth in a male body, typically there would be more of the divine masculine. But of course, and that's what I'm saying, it's always existed. There's a spectrum. So not everybody's over here and not everybody's over there. Okay. So the divine feminine, I do think is in some ways more important for women, but men need it as well. So that was what I wanted to get across. They definitely need it as well. They definitely, yes, yes, Majella, I know. It's very hard to talk about that. Um, yeah, not sure what happened to freedom of speech in the US. But yes, there's a real fight for women's wombs, our reproduction. That's always been something that has been controlled. Again, historically, women give us birth to as many children as you can. That's why you're here, and that's what we want from you. And that would define you. So in some cultures, maybe a woman would have horrible, horrible stress and maybe even be harmed because she could not have children, for example. While in our culture, we're like, yeah, you're still a woman. I mean, you just, you can't have kids or whatever. This happened. So it's just, you can see how societies has always tried to define. I'm really sticking more with the biological definitions, which, like I said, problematic for some people, but not saying how you express yourself, but the biological truth, still the yin and the yang is there. Yes, and yes, you need both. You need both, and it's a matter of percentages, and that really boils down what I'm saying to at sort of the end of this is yes. So I gave you the qualities. So of course men have intuition. Of course men have compassion. Are they traditionally told not to have that? Not to like be too right? To you're too soft, and what do you mean you feel like da 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 da. So men have these qualities, and the balance we're going to find. I think even this is going to go over some people's heads. This will trigger some, probably not anybody really watching, I would hope. But I think some of what is going on with our sort of definitions and can I be this and I'm that, and I identify as this and call me this, is a sort of everything sort of shaking itself out, the divine feminine, divine masculine. And I think that ultimately our society will evolve. I really do believe positively we are going to evolve beyond even like gender and stuff like that, but like peace, understanding, compassion, sharing. I believe we will evolve through this dark and difficult time. And it definitely make no doubt this is a dark and difficult time. The light is still there. The good traits are still there. But there is a battle. I do feel that there is a battle. And let me know what you guys think when people say, "Oh, well, you wanted to be here. You incarnated during this for this time." I don't actually have a strong sense of that. I believe that's so, but it doesn't mean that in the hardness of it and the difficulty that you kind of are like, oh yeah, I know I wanted to be here, so it's okay. Like, yeah, I'm in the middle of like a famine or something, or there's a genocide going on, but yeah, I wanted to be here. So I mean, I'm really cool, right? Maybe our personality doesn't know that. If our soul was like, yes, I can deal with it, but our personality is still like, yeah, I know, I really didn't want this. So, oh, let's see, there's a book sharing in here. Yes, I have not, I've heard of it. Ameristar, beautiful recommendation. I've heard of it. I have not read it. Yes. So, and also, yeah, I believe, Ingrid, to what you're saying, I do. That's what I mean. It's very hard now, you guys. I can't actually share it because I mean, I could get, specifically with something that I'm doing, but I do think women needs women's spaces. I think men should have men's spaces. I do. I do. And so that's what I mean. I think everything's shaking itself out because of course what we didn't want. So let's talk a little bit about feminism and just equal rights and rights for women. I do believe men need a place where they can talk about what they want to talk about. Well, what I think that women and the men who were supporting us in that, what we didn't want was like locked out of places of power, like for example, a Supreme Court. Okay, a Supreme Court. Why should it not be representative? Why was it previously like older and white men, you know? Why was that? Because that was not at all representative and they're making decisions for everyone. So, we wanted equality in that way. That doesn't mean that guys shouldn't be able to have their men's groups where they talk about whatever they want to talk about. I don't care. I always give this example again, not to offend anyone, but my regulars will know, you know what I'm saying. Like if there's a group for like yeah, disabled veterans, am I going to be angry that I'm not in the disabled veterans group? Goddesses, seriously? I'm not disabled and I'm not a veteran. No, they have specific things they want to talk about. But literally now, could I say this is just for women? I have gotten people like, whoa, blah, 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 blah. Are you serious? Are you freaking kidding me? You know? It's just, but and some of you are like, oh, it doesn't matter. It actually does because culture throughout cultures, there are good and bad things historically, of course, but there have always been spaces where women are with other women for a variety of reasons. Reproduction, giving birth, learning about your body, you know, there were safe spaces also where women, you know, and still in many cultures, right, where there's a separation of the sexes, some of that is protective given the way the culture dynamics are. Okay. So I'm just saying, yes, I think that women can have women's spaces and there can be mixed spaces. We just need to let people have the space they need. You know, let me see Donna's comment. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wonderful. Yes. One of the nicest men I have ever met. Oop, I just lost my light. I'll go turn it back on. Someone I was dealing with in sort of a almost business way, very masculine man. You know, no one would kind of just be like, oh no, he's not, but was clearly in the feminine. I was able to kind of talk to him about my feelings. He understood by his response. I could see that he was very caring, very compassionate. It wasn't just this like, well, I'm a businessman and you need to, this is the deal I'm giving you. It was much more nuanced, right? Also fluidity, that's another divine feminine trait. Fluidity meaning, yeah, does it have to? I mean, let me listen to you and let me see. It's not rigid. So the feminine is always, and this is why, gosh, I could go into a whole other thing here on why often snakes were, because the way snakes move, right? Every culture is linked with women. Okay. So, yes, I see this weaponized comment. I'm going to put it up and then I'm going to read it. Hang on one second. Yeah, this is some good discussion today. Gender has been weaponized. It is like, I'm like, what's happening right now? And the thing is, people need to be able to discuss. And I feel that the ability to discuss is already being cut off. And that is problematic because what will happen, I've seen it happen with other things too. If you shut down when people really need to share what they're feeling, they don't think something is right, it'll come back around in a more secretive or underhanded way. So we can't talk about like, I have a dear friend who we were talking about gender and she works with her work. She works with a lot of people who are trans or non-binary. And she very honestly said to me after a long discussion, she goes, we're figuring this language out. We're still figuring it out because what it is, I thought this was beautiful. She's like, we're trying not to, we don't want people to be hurt. And I agree with that 100%. She's like, we're trying to find language that is not hurtful. And I'm like, yes, but, I just also really care about safe spaces for women, you guys, before you guys go, because I see I've been on for a while. It really matters to me in terms of women's sports and activities or things that women's safe health and safety. Give me a yes. Give me a yes if you're following me with that. It's just, yeah, I can call you what you want me to call you, but what I need is that, and I'm not a Republican. I need that if I saw a retreat, and I'm afraid to mention this, but I will. I saw a retreat, and it said it was a women's retreat, and it said you can self-identify as a woman. Now, what if I'm at this retreat, you guys? Seriously, I'm at this retreat, and I'm in the bathroom, and it's a women's retreat, and it's by self-identification, and I step out, and the person I see, I just would not, I don't feel safe because I think that is a man in the bathroom with me. Just as an example, just as an example. Or again, I've taken retreats like this where it's a shared room. Are you following me on this? It's a shared room, and this is a retreat for women. And it's self-identified as women. So I literally don't understand, what does that mean? Does that mean that I could potentially be in the room with someone who um, has not, has not had a medical transition and maybe is very, very early? And like, what does that mean for my safety and my daughter or my sister? I also, and this is going to seem strange to some of you, but even for like policemen, um, do you need to know if you're dealing with a male or a female? Like, does that, you know what I mean? You guys get what I'm saying? And also, even medically, there's just a lot of implications that to Mahola's, or Majola, to your comment, gender has been weaponized. Yeah. And a lot of it we just are not able to speak about. And it's just going too fast also. So my sharing on the divine feminine, it is in both men and women. It is in non-binary people, because it's like almost like saying if you're human, you have a height, right? So you can't say I'm not, you may not be tall, but even if you're short, there's a height. I know that's a strange analogy, but I think some of you can follow me. So there's a spectrum. We all have certain degrees of masculine, certain degrees of feminine. And so when I speak about the divine feminine, I think it's wonderful for women, because a lot of these traits that would be sort of naturally within us, and I do believe that, have been denigrated, have been pushed down, have been called evil and horrible. And so we as women need to reclaim that. And absolutely men also have some of these qualities, and it needs to be okay. For instance, if your son is hurt and starts crying, that needs to be okay, right? If you're a grown man and you're going through a really hard time, it needs to be okay for you to cry. You need to be okay with that. Society needs to be okay with that. That is separate in a lot of ways from some of the gender and labeling stuff that we talked about towards the end. So yes. Yeah, women's leadership is for us completely new. Exactly, like women in leadership. What does a feminine leadership look like? I always mention this. I've mentioned this like twice on my channel. Gosh, what is her name? I'm blocking her name. Oh, Hillary Clinton. I didn't relate to her because I actually felt that while she was and is female, I got such a masculine energy from her. Again, give me a yes if you're following what I'm saying. I'm not saying she needed to be in a frilly blouse, and it was more of an energy thing. I didn't get the qualities of compassion, connection. I didn't get that from her. So, of course, or like a Margaret Thatcher, for those of you who are older, she ruled Britain in a very sort of masculine, there was a masculine energy to her. And that was how women had to be to rule. Is that okay? What percentage is for us? So these are just things, but just to take in the divine feminine. So leadership, yes, to be in a leadership role. How do we do that in a way that draws on our strengths? Yes. Hi, Christina. Is it Christina or Christina? Yeah, Christina. How can we do it in a way that draws on our strengths? Because let's be honest, a lot, we know this. When I see, this idea of connection, women tend to, this idea of us gossiping or backbiting, we tend to like group and share more than a group of men. A group of men obviously come together for certain things. They do that fine. And obviously, if it's casual in the Western world, like golfing, I'm not saying men don't form teams. That's not what I'm saying. But if you just sort of put men and women together and sort of watch what they do, the women will tend to kind of like and connect and, oh, how are you feeling? There's just a different way that we're relating than men relate to each other, is all I'm saying. And again, that varies by culture. Culture definitely has an impact. So yes, but I'm going to put this up because I'm going to go now. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was helpful, but I would love to see, there is still space. I'm going to do a small retreat tomorrow, the at-home retreats. The link is in the chat. Again, if you become a member, it's only $50. So if you become a channel member for like $3.99, you'd save like 20 something dollars. So for members, it's $50 and it's 3 hours of a mini mindfulness retreat with me. I will be leading you different than this. I mean, it'll be just a really nice, calm setting. It's not going to be just you listening to me. I'm going to be leading you in meditation. Again, you're not going to meditate for 3 hours straight. Do not become frightened. Do not say, oh my God, I can't do that. I'll be teaching you walking meditation. We'll be doing seated mindfulness. We will do mindful eating. So we'll have like a lunch break. And then we'll have some journaling. Altogether, it'll be about 3 hours tomorrow afternoon. Enroll. The price is $79, but it's $50 for channel members. And if you support the channel on Patreon, you'll also see where I put the link. Okay. If you have any questions, seriously, yeah, it was great to have you. Thank you for saying that. If you have any questions, I'll put in the email that will get to me, because I do check it. Assistant at In the Flow of Magic. There will be other retreats too. So if you get stressed, like after Thanksgiving, but before Christmas, I think I have an early December one. And all you need is space. Your space doesn't have to be beautiful and clean. It's not going to be about that. Obviously, it'd be nice if you set aside a nice space to meditate, but don't worry about things like that. Don't worry about, oh, people are going to see my house. I mean, we'll just see like right behind you. We really don't care because we're worried about our house. Okay. And you will not be sitting staring at the screen. So just like this, I might be leading you and I'll do my yoga voice. All right. I'll do my very calm voice. Okay. Better than that. And you'll just, you'll have your computer. You can have it off to the side. So you'll be in your body doing meditation, right? You're not going to be just staring at a screen for 3 hours because that would not be relaxing. You can light your incense, you can do your essential oils. In fact, I want to send out by tomorrow morning telling people really should go out tonight. Just have a light lunch ready. And we're going to, like I said, do the mindful eating. Or if you want to just do a snack, I will lead us in how to eat mindfully as if you're meditating. This is a profound practice because if you have any trouble with overeating or eating the wrong foods, this is a nice practice to do. Okay. Trust me on that. You can even do a raisin. There's a raisin meditation. We could do that. So if you've already eaten and you join and you're like, oh, I really don't want lunch, Viv, you could just get an apple or something and I'll lead you in that as well. So hope to see you tomorrow at that. Again, that is private, that is by enrollment, and the link is in the chat, and it's in the flow of magic. .com. If you just go there, you'll see it on the homepage, and then you can click through to the meditation retreats at home. So I hope this served you to think about the divine feminine, how to embody it more fully. It isn't just like a buzzword, a buzz phrase. And yes, I do think there is pushback, and ultimately we will become a more compassionate, caring society. It may take 50 years, it may take 100 years, but that is the direction the tide is moving in. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to just do my meditation bell. If you'd like to, those of you here with me still, take a nice deep breath in and out. And yes, I just am called to share. I am creating intentionally diverse spaces. So you are welcome. You do not have to be African American to do the at-home retreat. I think that women, we actually need spaces, as I mentioned before. We need spaces also where we can come together regardless, or as people would say, irregardless, which I don't think is a real word, regardless of our ethnicity, our background, if that is comfortable for you. So I would love to see you there, wherever you are from. And thank you. Oh, I love that. I love that virtual hug. Thank you. Thank you so much. And if you need something else to watch over the weekend, I do have the November reading. And I also have some beautiful affirmations that I had made. They're really, really nice. They were for like healing from a breakup and attracting new love. So they were very much about moving forward and bringing love into your life. So check out those affirmations if you haven't seen it. I think it was just a couple of days ago I put that out and made that for you guys. So stay blissed and blessed. Bye-bye.